Welcome back, everybody. Um, Last time we met, we talked a lot about appreciating misbehavior in children and recognizing that there is power in misbehavior. There's so much learning that happens in misbehavior, and if you want to go and look that up on Just Keep Parenting, it's called Appreciating Misbehavior, and it focuses on the 7 functions that misbehavior the functions of misbehavior in a child's life. So today I want to talk a little bit more from this book by Becky Bailey called Easy to Love, Difficult to Discipline. She talks about the 7 powers, for self-control. And as we all know as adults, that is self-control is difficult. Some people seem to have a pretty good hand on it, and some people still struggle with it. But we've got to figure out that self-control really is a choice, right? It really is an act of love that we give ourselves and we give others, especially our children. Um, One of the things that Becky talks about, one of the quotes that's in the book on page 27, she says, "Becoming aware of your own thoughts and feelings is a major accomplishment and the first step towards self-control." So as we're thinking about this from a parent's viewpoint, um, um, as Becky researched and came up with the 7 powers for self-control, I want to just touch on them today, and then throughout the weeks we're going to talk a little bit more about each one of those powers. So today we're just going to introduce it, and the first one, and I might say that the reason that Becky one of the reasons in her research that she came up with this was we, as a society, we're blaming others, which we're still doing today, right? We're blaming others for the problems that we're having. And one of the wonderful things about self-control is we recognize when we have a part in that, right? So the 7 powers of self-control shift your focus from blame to solutions, right? From guilt to action, from punishment to teaching, and from reasoning to results, right? So if that sounds like a bandwagon that you want to get on, right? Because it's so good for children, right? When we can, as adults, as the caring adults in their life, when we can figure out self-control, we can't really expect them to get it until we do that. So here's the 7 powers. The first one is called the power of attention. And the idea behind that is what you focus on, you get more of, right? And so if you think about that from a parenting viewpoint, if you're going to focus on the negative attention, you're going to get more of the negative reaction, right? The second one, the power of love, right? Seeing the best in each other. Sometimes I have to take a deep breath. I have my niece with me right now, and on her phone, she teaches special ed, but on her phone, she has a reminder throughout the days, 3 or 4 reminders for her children to take deep breaths. And so I'm the benefactor of that right now, in that I hear her phone go off and I can take a deep breath, right? And that helps me to see the best in each other, right? In one another, because sometimes I'm like, and I'm like, wait a minute, I have a choice in here. I have a choice in whether or not I choose to see the best, whether or not that power of love is active in my life, right? So that's the second one. The third one is the power of acceptance, right? This moment, it is as it is, right? I can't change the moment, but I can change my reaction to the moment, right? So just accepting what it is and not blaming, not feeling guilty, but accepting it, and then we can move on and make a different choice. The fourth one is the power of perception, right? No one can make me feel angry without my permission. I often think of Eleanor Roosevelt, right? The famous quote that she has about that nobody can make you feel inferior. Nobody, it's the same thing. Nobody can make you angry without your consent, right? And so there again, I go back to my lotion. When I am feeling angry, it is a tool, it's a resource for me that I use that works for me. because it helps me to breathe, right? And when I breathe, I'm giving this brainstem, I'm taking the power away from it and I'm putting it up here to my thinking brain, right? The fifth one is the power of intention, right? So recognizing, going back to misbehavior, appreciating misbehavior, conflict is an opportunity to teach, right? Not an opportunity to hit, not an opportunity to punish, but an opportunity to teach, right? And so are we taking those opportunities each day? The power of intention to teach, right? Be intentional with what we're doing. Many times as I work with teachers, one of the things that we talk about is when they give directions, when they give instructions, to put the why on the end of it. So there again, the child understands that it's the reasoning behind it, right? You need to tuck your chair in so that nobody else trips on it, right? So that intentional piece can help in so many aspects of our life, right? Not just in recognizing that conflict is an opportunity to teach, but just an opportunity to teach in any aspect. The sixth one is the power of free will, right? The only person that we can make change is ourselves. As much as we like to, we can't do it, right? So we sit here and fight against it, but really the only person that we can make change is me, right? And so recognizing that as my children in the classroom, my children at home, as they see those changes, many times when parents come to me with problems and this is happening and this is happening, my go-to is, so what are you doing, right, that shows them that you're trying to deal with your anxiety, you're trying to help them understand how to show their anger, right? What are we doing, right, to show them, to model for them? So many times we ask them to do things that we aren't doing ourselves, right? And so when we say, oh, the apple's not falling far from that tree, right? They're modeling what we're doing for them. And so as we hold that mirror, so to speak, in front of us, to be able to figure out, okay, I've got to do this differently for me, right? So that then they can see it, because I'm the only one that I can make change. So that is the power of free will, right? And then the seventh one is the power of unity, right? So focus on connecting instead of trying to be special, right? And so those connections, oh my gosh, you have pink glasses too. We're twins today. We get to be twinners today, right? That whole, well, I'm more special than you, I'm better than you, right, has not necessarily produced great things in our world, right? But when we can find a connection with people, right, to be able to connect with them on what they're wearing, what they're feeling, right, their jobs, that's where that power comes from, is as we connect with one another and not try to necessarily be more special than the next person, but as we connect. So those are the seven powers for self-control. And there's other powers that help us figure this out, but those are the ones that we're going to focus on in the next few weeks. The power of attention, the power of love, the power of acceptance, the power of perception, the power of intention, the power of free will, and the power of unity. So again, comes from the book Easy to Love, Difficult to Discipline. Conscious discipline, if you've ever heard of that, that's what we use with children at the lab school. And we've had parents again and again say, even though they were 4 and 5, their abilities to resolve conflict, their abilities to make friends, their abilities to self-regulate, all started here. So it's a great thing as we think about ourselves and the power that lies within, right? So thank you for visiting today. And if you want to pass it along to somebody that just needs a little pick-me-up, recognizing that parenting is hard, relationships are hard, but we can do something different every day to make them a little better. So thanks for joining, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on a different day.